Hey y'all, so 2020 is over. Let's talk about the December wrap-up and what we're going to get into in the new year. So December was weird for me. I only read 3 books, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I noticed that about myself, that I was at least able to get 4 to 5 every month, but this month just did not happen. I was sent back to work from home, so that kind of cut down a lot of my commute time for my audiobooks. So I read 3 physical books and no audiobooks, but let's talk about them. So I'm sure some of you saw my Great Hunt wrap-up and my Dragon Reborn predictions video a few days ago. So I was able to finish The Great Hunt, which is the second book in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. I really liked this book. It was definitely a step up from The Eye of the World, and I am excited to see where these characters go. So it's still another solid installment. I've only read 2 of The Wheel of Time, but so far I'm really enjoying it. The second book I read was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Now, I haven't read a book like this in quite a while. It definitely had more purple prose than any of the other books that I've mostly read this year, so it was a little slow for me to kind of get through, but I really liked that feeling. I liked it being slower. I liked the pacing being slower and just the story kind of unfolding, and it had some great quotes in here. It was just really well done, and I'll be doing a full review on it, but I really did enjoy it. I know some people kind of didn't like the ending, and on one hand, I wanted to say that I didn't like the ending, but that's just because that's not the ending that you necessarily want, but it was the ending that felt the best. It felt right, it made sense, and I really did enjoy it. I also wrapped up the Great Quotes Quartet with Tyrant's Throne. This was the 4th book, and I couldn't put it down for the last 200 pages. I really liked how this series turned out. I thought it was very well done. So I'm going to be doing some more videos on the 4 books as well, but I do think it was worth reading. I'm really glad that I started and finished it. It was a series that wasn't even on my TBR at all until Mike's Book Reviews started their channel Read Along, and he really talked it up, and he wasn't wrong. It was a great series, and I'm glad that I worked it in. I'm excited to have more videos of this coming in the new year, and we'll talk more in length about it. So as far as audiobooks, I paused The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick it back up. I read maybe a quarter of it. I read about a quarter of it, and I don't know. I can't tell you why I paused it or why I DNF'd it. I just wasn't feeling it. I'm not a historical fiction person that much anyway, but I heard really good things about it, and it wasn't bad. The parts that I read weren't bad. I didn't really care about the sisters, and I know I should. I don't know, there was just something off about it. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for a book like that. I was reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue at the time, and so they're both kind of slow and somber feeling, and so maybe it was just too much, but I was enjoying The Invisible Life a lot more, so I just ended up stopping The Nightingale, but I may not pick this one back up. I just don't know. We'll see how I feel later about it. Now, this audiobook I did DNF, and I'm so sorry, Nick. I'm so sorry, but I DNF'd Moon of the Crusted Snow. I truly feel like it is just the narrator's fault that I'm DNFing this book. His cadence and the inflections that he made on sentences just made no sense, and I don't know what it is, but I couldn't stand it. I don't think the writing was bad, it's just how the narrator narrates it just didn't sit well with me. He would have like these happy inflections on sentences that didn't need that inflection, that emphasis in that way. It just didn't make sense. Like on one sentence where the wife goes to wake up her children for school, it kind of made it bouncy, like she went to wake up her children for school. But it was just a sentence kind of telling what the characters are doing. It didn't make any sense with what was happening in the scene and what the author was trying to say. And it happened so often. It was almost like the narrator didn't read the book beforehand to kind of get a feel for what was going to happen, how these characters act, or what they do in certain situations. And it just kind of felt like he was just going with the flow. And sometimes you can do that, but I feel like for a professional narration of a novel, it's not necessarily a good thing. And I have no idea if that's what the narrator did. I could be completely wrong. I haven't listened to anything else he's done, but I couldn't get through the narration. I know Nick from Nick Next Corner, he really loved this book, and I was really interested. It sounds like a good story, but I just couldn't get through the audiobook, so I may try to find this like at the library or something this year, or this coming year in 2021, to try to finish it, because I would like to read it. I couldn't do it on audio. Funny story, I started a middle grade series called The Wings of Fire. It's the Dragonette Prophecy. And I only started this because my daughter, who is in high school now, but she started reading these books when she was in elementary school, and she just absolutely loves them. Loves them, loves them. And she tries to get me to read books all the time, and I just tell her, I'm not interested in YA, I'm not interested in middle grade, I just don't want to read it. At the beginning of 2020, she finally broke me down and got me to read We Are the Ants, and I legitimately enjoyed it. It was a YA about grief and a lot of things, and I'm gonna have a review on it soon, but she had me read it, and I enjoyed it. It was a good book. I told her thank you for giving me a book that she thought I really would enjoy, and she was right. So all year she has been begging me to read this series, at least the first one, because it is her favorite series of all time as of right now. So it has a lot of nostalgia for her. I feel like this book is kind of like Harry Potter is for me, but this is her nostalgia series. And I started the prologue and the first chapter, and actually for a middle grade, the writing is really good. It's just the characters are a bit childish, the dialogue is a bit childish, but it's a middle grade book. That's what I was expecting. Everything is good here. It's all good here. So I'm probably going to try to crank this out. It's only 300 pages, and the font is very spaced out. It's very large. I don't think I'll have any problem kind of cranking this out in a few days. So I did tell her that I would kind of, for a palate cleanser, read this book and tell her what I think. So I'm going to have a middle grade book on my channel, which I never thought I would say. With the new year, I'm overhauling how I'm doing my wrap-ups and my TBRs just a little bit. The basic format is going to be the same, but I do have a handy dandy graphic that I will be using for my TBRs, and I'm going to put it up now. So I'm going to be using this format to show 2 months worth of TBRs. So I'm really excited about this format, but as you can see, for January, I have Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson, The Dragon Reborn, I want to finish it, by Robert Jordan. I have Valor by John Gwynne. I am so pumped, you guys. You just don't even know. For audiobooks, I'm going to start Stormfront by Jim Butcher, and I'm also going to start House of Salt and Sorrow by Aaron Craig. I am probably going to I'm going to do one at a time. So if I don't finish Stormfront, then I won't start House of Salt and Sorrow, but those are the two that I do want to try to get done. So then moving into February, I have The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I have the fourth book of Wheel of Time, which is The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. I have Rise of Empire by Michael J. Sullivan. And then for my audiobooks, I have Full Moon by Jim Butcher, which is the second book for Dresden Files. And I have The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. So coming in January, I will also have all of my end of year 2020 videos being posted in January. It just doesn't really sit right with me doing 2020 videos when December wasn't done yet. So I wanted to get December completely done and then put those end of year videos up in January. So I've got, my data video, I have a top 10 books of the year, I have a most disappointing books of the year, I have top 10 characters, just videos like that I'm really excited about, and so those will be coming in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for those. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, you are good as gold. Y'all take care. Bye.